Welcome back to the Chop and Block podcast. I'm your host, Steve Dalton, but tonight we got somebody a little bit more interesting than Steve Dalton as your host. Beast of Kane will be leading this. This is our NFL preview show, but I want to remind you, thanks to our sponsors, DJ Clam Shack here in St. Augustine, Florida, the only place where northern and southern seafood meet, with locations in Key West, Indian Shores, and of course, St. Augustine, Florida. So we're going to throw it really quick to Beast of Kane, your host for tonight's NFL preview show. Time to chop it up.
Let's chop it up, man. I'm so excited about this show. I'm so excited about the NFL season. I mean, we physically get week 2 of college football, the first week of the NFL. Dude, I mean, that's almost better than Christmas. you know. Okay, guys, let's go ahead and just get right into it. I want to talk about the elephant in the room. I want to talk about the elephant man himself. One Nick Saban. Look at that. Let's look at that expression on his face.
It's beautiful.
That's a man that takes his job very serious. And when we think about the upcoming season coming up, you got to think about all of the players that he's had, that he's coached, is getting ready to play this season in major position, especially at the quarterback position. But the question is, did Nick fail in the NFL, or do people fail to understand his contributions? And before you guys dive into this, I want to talk about when you're calling a player by a name, just one name. They usually either infamous, or they done something crazy, or they just got it going on. Listen to some of these names: Tua, Hurts, Bryce, Mac, Julio, Devontae, Waddle, Ruggs, Ridley, Henry, and Judy. Man, I have always been the biggest Alabama hater in the world. But when I hear those names right there, as a football fan, it makes me feel something. Okay, Kevin, I'm going to throw it to you first as our resident Alabama fan. Did Nick fail in the NFL, or do people fail to understand his contributions?
I mean, let's set the stage here. All right. 2004, the Miami Dolphins, they go 4-12 on the season. Nick Saban comes in with Joey Harrington as quarterback and goes 9-7 his first season. So then, all right, good season. The next season, Nick Saban says, hey, I want to bring Drew Brees here to be my quarterback. Drew Brees comes in. The doctors say his shoulder's too messed up. He's never going to be able to play another down in the NFL. And then they're forced to go with Dante Culpepper. Dante Culpepper had a couple good seasons in Minnesota. Then he had the worst season ever. He threw 2 interceptions in his first game. I think it was his first four throws. It was 2 interceptions. So no. Nick Saban did not fail in the NFL. Nick Saban is a coach. He's a great coach. He comes from the Belichick tree. He's literally Belichick without Tom Brady. And as you can tell, Belichick, what's he done since Brady's left? You cannot win in the NFL without a quarterback.
Facts.
Nick Saban has not failed in the NFL. It's a crazy question. It always pisses me off because the greatest of all time, you're saying is a failure because he didn't go to the playoffs, or he just didn't like the NFL. His heart was never in it. I never know. I don't know why he left LSU. I'm glad he did, but the rest is history.
That's probably the biggest mistake of his life. What'd you say, Coach?
Well, honestly, I don't hate on Nick Saban. I don't hate on Alabama. I just want to beat Nick Saban in Alabama. But the contributions that he's done for the NFL, man, it's pretty much second to none. And I don't know why people try to make it look like he can control an NFL player. Once those kids leave Alabama, Nick Saban has no control over. They're not getting the money, and they're not driving the fancy cars, and everything else. They're no longer at Alabama. See, when I used to hear people say Alabama could beat an NFL team, under Nick Saban's guidance, you can. But when you get them in the NFL and you don't have a coach that's on you the way he was, you know, you don't have a curfew.
It-
So therefore, it's like you can't control whatever anybody who's played for Nick Saban, whatever awards they won in Alabama when they won to Nick Saban. You can't hold him accountable for what they do as far as personally once they get out of Alabama and into the NFL. But to say that the players that he's put in the NFL hadn't made a contribution to the teams that they've been on, you're going to get knuckleheads no matter what. But I mean, you looking at this list, nobody said anything about Diggs in Dallas, one of the best cornerbacks in the league.
you know,
So
I'm gonna break in just a second. Coach says something else that really kind of gets into my elephant crawl too. You know, a lot of people always complained before Nick Saban started. You know, having guys like Hurts and Bryce and Julio and Devontae and these future Hall of Famers. Everybody was like, "Well, Nick Saban has 4 or 5 busts every single year." Okay, you're gonna. What's wrong with a coach getting bums drafted by the NFL? That's doing his job.
Exactly.
His job is to get his players to the NFL. And like Coach says, he can't control what the players do or what kind of coaching they get when they get to the NFL. He has gotten a bunch of busts and guys that have no business playing in the NFL a paycheck. Period.
totally agree.
What'd you say, Dalton?
I look at this in a lot of different ways. Y'all touched on a lot of it. Like you said, Nick Saban gets them to the NFL. They're prepared to be a professional football player physically, but and I think somewhat mentally, but he can't be there when they clock out, when they got that bag full of money. Prime example is unfortunately Ruggs. What happened that night is horrible, and he deserves the punishment. He probably should have been a little bit worse if we're being honest. Young lady lost her life, but that goes to show it don't really matter what happens after that. He clocks out. He's his own person. But yeah, to say Nick Saban is a failure in the NFL, no way. He don't have a winning record as an NFL coach, but he does have a winning record. And what I mean by that is you put all the players together he's put in the NFL. I mean, every year, let's be honest, there's an Alabama player on a Super Bowl team. And that's just, and it seems like Georgia too. I think Georgia has like the longest running consecutive record for like a player in the Super Bowl. It's something wild, which is, it makes sense. But I think what he's done for the NFL is what is not talked about. The NFL is saturated with Alabama players. They probably have the most. Either them, Ohio State, Georgia's getting close, it seems. But there's a reason, we talk about, like you said, the Bill Belichick tree. Now the conversation has moved to the Nick Saban tree. It's everybody under him has gotten a big time opportunity. And sometimes it seems like it's almost kind of because of him. Not necessarily they have enough experience or proven record yet, but they're under him. And there's certain things that you just can't get. I couldn't imagine being in a locker room with Nick Saban in a coaches meeting, what you would hear, the wisdom you would gain. So that's how I look at it. I think the guy has been unbelievable for college football, but definitely a success in professional football. Let's be honest. If Nick Saban wouldn't have went to Alabama and they wouldn't have had the success that they've had, the NFL would look different.
He would just bring him in from LSU. But to hit on what you did say, man, goes back to what I was saying. Ruggs. Look what he done. Look how he done it. But if he was playing under Nick Saban, where would he be? Curfew.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
What do you say, Havoc?
Yeah, I definitely have to agree with you fellas, especially because with the NFL, Kevin said, his first season he was 9-7 with Joey Harrington, and then that wasn't on him. Drew Brees not being cleared, and then he just left and went back to college. That's not considered a failure to me. That's considered more of an incomplete, because he wasn't in the NFL long enough to really give him a fair coaching analysis, objectively. And then, as you guys were saying, I mean, we all know how many people he's put into the league. Julio Jones, Mark Ingram, Tua, freaking Hurts, Mac Jones. The list goes on and on. And then Trent Richardson, who ended up being a bust, but like Kevin said, you get bums to the NFL, and he happened to be a bust. We all thought he was going to be great. The measurables were there, the tools were there, and he just happened to fail in the NFL. And then, like Steve touched on, lastly, as far as with the Saban coaching tree now, he got Sarkisian, that job at Texas. He got Lane Kiffin, the Ole Miss job. And same with Kirby Smart. All these guys, Will Muschamp coach under Saban. So he's definitely not a failure. If anything, he's impacted the NFL and college a lot. And it would be a lot different if he, like you guys said, it stayed at Miami. It probably would be looking at a different NFL.
Yeah, the NFL is easy, man. Look at Pete Carroll. That dude was fired twice in the NFL before he became a Super Bowl winning coach. What's the difference? Russell Wilson.
I don't think so. And the only reason I'm not a Pete Carroll defender, I think Pete Carroll is in the same sense we think of Nick Saban. If you look at Pete Carroll when he went to the Patriots, he took over a winning team.
Yeah.
And let's be honest, they were horrible. But what's funny is, so he wanted to bring in the whole culture of the 49ers, the lifestyle of the 49ers. I mean, he just came from Super Bowl winning programs. And he wanted to bring in the nutrition that they had. And this will let you know about New England and just how they're different. He said, we need to have this nutrition. And the owner, I don't believe it was Bob Kraft at the time. It was somebody right before him. But the owner said, well, we feed our players peanut butter and jelly sandwiches, and that's just how it is. These are professional athletes, okay? And I think that's why Pete Carroll failed the first time. And what made him go back to college is he wasn't able to put his culture, his lockdown on the program. And then when he went to Seattle, I mean, he won with Matt Hasselbeck, right? I believe he won a couple of years with Matt Hasselbeck.
Yeah, he made the playoffs, definitely. I was just saying, the difference in an average NFL coach and a Super Bowl winning quarterback coach is always, generally history tells you this. It's a quarterback difference.
You gotta
If Nick Saban gets Drew Brees, he's probably still coaching in the NFL with a couple Super Bowl rings.
And you know what? When you talk about Pete Carroll, I will say that I do think Pete Carroll does not get the amount of credit that he deserves. But when you're not calling for beast mode number in the on the 1 yard line, you kind of hurt your case. But the next slide comes from one of my favorite movies of all time, player. And the quote that comes from this movie, I'm talking about everybody in my family knows this quote because I will say this quote probably once a week, sometimes a couple times an hour. It's not what you know, it's what you can prove. Who has the most to prove in the NFL, either coach or player? What you say, Havoc?
For me, the coach with the most to prove this year, it's got to be Brandon Staley of the Chargers. That team is loaded with talent. They've got Justin Herbert, two good outside receivers, and they drafted another receiver in the first round, the two receivers, Mike Williams and Keenan Allen. Then they've got Austin Eckler in the backfield, a talented defense with Bosa and Khalil Mack there and Derwin James. It's got to be Brandon Staley. We all watched him blow single-handedly the game against the Jaguars. He blew a 27-point lead, and as much as he likes to blame the offensive coordinator, he was responsible too for them only running the ball 7 times in the second half when they had a big lead. and could have shortened the game. He's had a lot of coaching blunders and has cost that team a lot of games. Guys, realistically, this is a team that's underachieved since Brandon Staley's been there. And then remember the previous year, and any one of you fellas tell me this. Tell me one starting quarterback, and this is what Justin Herbert did in 2021. He threw 38 touchdown passes, and the team missed the playoffs. That actually happened.
Yeah.
Herbert's a stud.
Yeah.
Yeah. So to me, it's got to be Brandon Staley. I've never seen so far in his tenure a more inept coach, a more undeserving coach. And I don't mean to be cold-hearted, but this has got to be it for him. He's got to be on the hot seat. If they don't make big changes or at least win a playoff game, he's got the
to
most.
me, it's 11 wins or bust for him, Havoc. I mean, they got to win 11 games.
What do you say, Dalton?
Man, I'm up on the ropes on this one. I don't want to take the easy answer and say Dak Prescott. I feel like all of us could probably throw him in this argument. You know what? I'm going to go with Ezekiel Elliott. Playing for my New England Patriots. I still don't know how I feel about this. Normally we don't take the carrot when it's dangling in front of us and get the veteran, big money guy. But somehow, some way, the New England Patriots have thought to hire this overweight, out of shape running back, more like a roly-poly. This dude, for him to be making as much money, he could be a prime candidate for another segment coming up here in the future that I won't discuss. But I think he's robbing the New England Patriots. But in my opinion, for me, it's he's got to be at 1,000-yard rusher, which in the NFL, it's 16 games. Is that really, it's not that great of an average every game.
I think
He has to run.
now. Hold on, and it's 17 now?
17. They added the game.
Now,
That's right.
So they got
They
an
added the
extra
game.
game.
Yeah.
It's always weird now that they added that game. We always, for years,
Right.
it's been 16 games. But, hey, more football, more fun, like Six Flags or whatever. But he's got to rush for 1,000 yards for me, or it's a bust. And I still think you could probably say it's a bust if he did rush for 1,000 yards in the offense he's in. But I don't know. He's got the most approved for me.
Yeah, but you got a player?
Ezekiel Elliott.
Coach?
The coach. I'm stuck on what Havoc said. It's the Chargers coach. I mean, you got to have 11 wins or it's a bust. He blew that game in Jacksonville. I'll never forget. I was going to go to the game. I decided not to. My wife was like, I can't remember how many months pregnant. We go to halftime, and I turned the game off. I was like, man, this game sucks. I don't want to watch this. And I wake up in the fourth quarter. I'm like, Jacksonville won? Like, how? It almost it was like, I don't know. I was so shocked to see Jacksonville on top. It was like that. I don't know if you've seen the video of that guy waking up and he had put he had a couple $100 on Jacksonville winning. And he woke up at the end of the game as they were kicking the game-winning field goal, and he won $2,500.
Nice.
So that's how I felt too. I felt like I had won money when I won nothing.
Coach, what you got?
Well, to me, it's Denver Broncos, Russell Wilson, and Sean Payton.
Nice.
Sean Payton, you can say to yourself, his ideal quarterback is a shorter quarterback who's mobile, who likes to run a lot of play action, bootlegs, rollouts, like he did with Drew Brees, because Drew Brees wasn't the tallest of players, so Sean Payton didn't keep him in a spot. He always wanted to move him around, which was one reason why Drew Brees was actually really hard to sack. He usually got sacked when they rolled him into the pressure. So I'm looking to see what Sean Payton really does with with Russell Wilson as his quarterback this year. And Russell Wilson has to come through and show that he's worth the money that Denver's even paying him. Because to be honest with you, he's got Jarrett Stidham on his tail, So if he doesn't get the job done, then that puts Sean Payton having to make a decision at quarterback. Now we got quarterback controversy in Denver. We already know that when you got any kind of quarterback controversy on an NFL football team, you're going absolutely nowhere. So, to me, it's the Denver Broncos all the way around, the whole organization. John Elway, y'all gonna have to find a way to really fix it. Sean Payton, you were successful in, New Orleans, and Russell Wilson, you were successful in, Seattle. So can y'all put something together and be successful in Denver? You don't have to be Elway, and you don't have to be Peyton Manning. Nobody is saying that. But to me, you two got the most to prove to me because since Peyton Manning's left, y'all have drafted some great players, but you went absolutely nowhere. So to me, it's Denver. They got to show it to me, or it's gonna be a bust all the way around. Because you go and you get a player like Russell Wilson, but you really don't look at the future. Kind of like the Cleveland Browns to me. You go out and you get Deshaun Watson, but you really don't look at the future. Because I would have been more on the line of, I'll come coach here when I know there's a Bryce Young available or CJ Stroud available, because now we're talking about a quarterback that I could actually groom into what I really want. Russell Wilson, he gonna come with the ego. He already walk around. And, I guarantee you, this dude get pedicures. You know,
I do too.
I I just think that's him. He got the little cotton between his toes.
If you
That's
was
what
married to
Russell
Sierra,
Wilson
you
is.
probably get some pedicures too.
But Sierra don't make you a football player. She can date one, but she don't make you one. But like I said, man, to me it's Denver, Russell Wilson, Sean Payton, the whole organization. Y'all gonna have to come and show and prove something because you hadn't done nothing since Peyton Manning
I'm gonna
except
hold my
draft good quarterback.
comments off on Russell Wilson to a couple slides down the road, but I'm interested to see what Big Bama got to say about this one.
I'm gonna keep mine short and sweet, man. The player with the most improved to me is Tua. Uh, he's going to have to prove that he can play a whole season in the NFL. In my opinion, and mine only, I think he's as talented as the top 3 or 4 quarterback in the league. I think he's as accurate as any of them in the league. He just hasn't been able to stay healthy, and he's going to have to prove that this is the year. And the reason he's going to have to prove it is because this is his contract year. This is it. He's actually having to prove it to keep his job. So,
Yeah,
Tua would be my player. My coach would be Sean McDermott, Buffalo. You got Josh Allen, and you continually wet the bed in the playoffs every single year. There's a very tiny window for these guys to actually, make noise and get to and even win a Super Bowl. So Sean McDermott, I think if he don't get far in the playoffs the next 2 years, I think the Bills will be looking for them new coach.
very interesting. I say one thing about you talking about Tua. What they say, availability is the best ability, right?
Yeah,
Mhm.
absolutely.
If you're not available, it doesn't matter what you can do, And I will say that the kid has shown just glimpses of just being great. He really has. But you got to be able to count on the person that is leading the team. That's the captain of the ship. You can't just keep wrecking, And but for me, it's Bill Belichick. Everybody, you can only live so long off what Tom did. Since Tom been gone, Bill Belichick has not done anything. Okay? He has not. I know that might hurt you a little bit, but listen, you can't go from championship to maybe trying to make the playoffs. No, it can't. It can't happen. And I really think Mac Jones is good enough to play in the league. He's not my favorite, but I think he's good enough. And I honestly believe
He's Kirk Cousins.
yeah. And then maybe it went a little higher ceiling than Kurt. He got a little dog in him now. He's got a little Aaron Rodgers to him too. So that right there don't help him. But I think Bill Belichick, how much rope you gonna give him? Before you have to say, okay, It was Tom. It was the defense. It was Gronk. It was all these other things. Yes, you can't take away what he did, but you have to have a certain level of expectation for him going to the future. And I'm glad you brought that little shirt, that little MVP shirt up, because the next person who has something to prove is Aaron Rodgers. You literally walk out of the best job in all of football, if you ask me. It's arguably the best job in all of football. The Cheeseheads, the Packers, Green Bay, the Ice Bowl, the house Brett Favre built that you took over, and Aaron Rodgers is probably the most talented quarterback I ever seen in my life. I put Mahomes up there with him, but I can't put Mahomes ahead of him. If I did, it would be slight. But Aaron Rodgers, when he is rolling, when he's throwing that ball, when he's running and up under that center, it's exciting. But you in New York. You in the Big Apple now. All that, what you've been doing, all that talking, all that jibber jabber, hey, that's going to have to take a back seat to winning. Okay? You got to win in New York. I'm telling you, because all that talk he been doing, all this vaccine and this, I don't even know what the name of that stuff he's smoking. I can't even believe that he get away with saying that he does that. That shows you the power that this guy has in the league. This guy he's up there with the commissioner. You understand me? So for me, Aaron Rodgers has a whole lot to prove. And so does Bill Belichick. I'm gonna go ahead and move to the next slide, fellas. And you guys talked about people robbing a bank. The slide says, "You got the bag now. Now show me the money." Okay, you got the bag. Time to show me the money. Coach, who robbing the bank?
That's easy. And if you're looking for that criminal, you can go find him at a happy ending massage parlor. But Deshaun Watson is robbing the bank, dude. Okay, first of all, you signed this contract and you didn't take one snap in 2021. Not one. And we're going to give you $230 million. I wouldn't give him 230 jelly beans. He ain't proved nothing to me. All right. You come in, you play 6 games. You were suspended for over half the season. You come in, you play 6 games. In those 6 games, you go 3-3. You go 99 for 170. You throw for 1,102 yards, an average of 183 yards a game. You got 7 touchdowns, and 5 interceptions. Where along the lines is that a $230 million man? So unless you make it to the playoffs and make a run in the playoffs and win the AFC North, you are robbing the bank. But I'm going to tell you the reason why that crook is going to get caught with all that money and you still ain't going to be able to do nothing about it except pay him is his first 4 games of the season. 3 of those 4 are divisional opponents, as in the Bengals, week 1. Joe finna smoke you. So that's one highway robbery charge. Week 2, you're going to go into Pittsburgh. It ain't happening. There go your second charge.
Stop it.
And week 4, you got the Baltimore Ravens, who's got another man on the other side of the ball who just got his money paid to him, who's got something to prove, and he's going to outprove you. So to me, Deshaun Watson, man, listen, donate it because you don't deserve it.
Coach, I got to push back on you a little bit, Coach, real quick. Listen, you don't get paid for what you're going to do. You get paid for what you done. And the only way, listen, they don't give rookies 250, whatever they gave him. It was like 200 and what? 50, 60 million dollars.
It was all guaranteed.
And listen, you're right. He's going to have to prove it. But that's not why they paid him. They paid him because the last time we did see him on the football field. Okay, we talk about people getting sensitive and all of this. Come on, let's be honest, man. That was a money grab. The dude was a
180
bona fide football player. He was one of the
183
best.
yards passing.
Huh?
183 yards passing. I mean, you played 6 games. You've been suspended all that time. So you got more than enough time to study a playbook. You got more than enough time to watch film on everybody that you're playing. So you don't come in and give us a turd of 3-3.
But nobody expected. Nobody. I don't think many people. I'll hand it off to you, Doctor. But I don't think many people expected him to come in after being off. What season? A whole season and a half.
Season and a half.
And to come and light it up. But I will say that if he doesn't do something this year, he definitely robbing the bank. What do you say, Dalton?
So he's not my guy who's robbing the bank, but I'll be honest. Deshaun Watson could be fleeing Cleveland like OJ in the 90s. Let's be honest. We might see another Bronco flying down the street. And I don't know. I got a lot to say about that whole ordeal. I think it's crazy still to this day what the Browns did. But he does have talent around him. If anybody can win in Cleveland, I guess it would be him. But I'm going to go an owner of a team. And I'll tell you why. The owner, or let's say general manager / owner of the Arizona Cardinals, an absolute joke of a program, absolute joke what they've done there. Just 2 years ago, we were talking in the preseason how the Arizona Cardinals could be a Super Bowl contender. They had, everybody at receiver. You had Kyler Murray, pretty decent on defense that year, and I think they won 5 or 6 games. They've been injury riddled, but here's my problem with the ownership of the Arizona Cardinals and why they're breaking the bank for me. They got to be the highest paid on the team, right? So they're breaking the bank, in my opinion. When you have a true veteran quarterback in Colt McCoy, you have Kyler Murray, who's probably going to be out, it seems like the whole year, if not close. You have Colt McCoy, and you decide that he's not bad enough. I want to lose every game. So I go get Josh Dobbs, who is it Josh Dobbs? Not Josh Dobbs. Yeah, Josh Dobbs.
Yeah.
And then you've got another backup quarterback there that I don't even know his name. That's the problem. It's like you have a proven veteran quarterback in Colt McCoy, who's honestly, he's been decently successful everywhere he's went. And you send him packing just to lose more games. I don't agree with that. I think Arizona, if they're not careful, I know they got a beautiful stadium. If they're not careful and they continue on this slide, we could see them getting the boot out of Arizona and finding a home somewhere else, 10 years down the road.
I think all they got to do is get rid of Kyler Murray. Kyler Murray is a absolute jerk. You could just see it on him. He's got, like I told y'all before, if there is really something called a short man syndrome, he got it. He just does not know how to act. Then they had to put a clause in his contract, didn't they say? Just to get you to study. They say, you got to study, right? Isn't that what they say?
Yeah, that's why he's my pick. Kyler Murray's my pick for money, robbing the bank. This dude came in and took the league by storm. Short little guy, throwing the ball all over the place, 300, 400 yards a game, 4 or 5 TDs. Got paid $170 million. What's he done since then? They had to put a clause in his contract to keep him from playing Mario Brothers. What's he doing? He doesn't care. And like you said earlier, availability is what was the phrase?
Ability is the greatest availability.
Yeah, availability
is the best ability. Yeah.
Right. Now he's not even going to play this year, probably. So
my thing,
figuratively, the definition of robbing the bank.
Yeah, and Kevin, the reason I think it's the ownership too. Think about this: knowing what we know, they put that in that contract. If you have to put that in that contract as the ownership, you really think he's worth $170 million? Right. It's laughable from both parties. It's terrible on Murray's part that he has to have that in his contract.
Yeah,
And it's terrible for the ownership to even put that in the contract.
And I immediately thought of that. I was watching something the other day on TV, and this famous person, I don't even remember who it was, but it was a man, and he said he give his child a cell phone, but he made him sign a contract saying that he wouldn't get on certain websites and stuff. And I'm like, dude, who's the parent? You don't make your child sign a contract. You get out the belt and you whoop their butt, if they do something wrong.
Right.
And that's the thing, like you just said, it's a perfect example. You got to make him sign that in a contract. He's not your guy.
No, not at all. What do you say, Havoc?
To me, I got to go with Dak Prescott. Now, obviously, Dak's been a little better so far for his career than Kyler Murray, but he's got more experience. But as a Cowboys fan, just kind of sick of the same old divisional round, win 11 to 12 games, lose in the divisional round, beat Tom Brady last year with a depleted team. That Buccaneers team was full of injuries that we beat in the playoffs last year in Tom Brady's last game. And then you saw it happen, lost to the 49ers. And the year before, he lost to the 49ers. And, so Dak Prescott, for me, 100%. Ever since he signed that big guaranteed contract, you saw what happened. Immediately, we had to trade Amari Cooper the next year, and that was the number one receiver. And the team's gotten a little worse year after year because of his contract. So you can't keep the same amount of guys when you have a contract that hefty like Dak Prescott. And with 2 playoff wins for his career, that's not going to cut it.
And I'll say this and I'll move to the next slide, but I forget the player, and I know you probably know, Havoc. One of the players called him the B word, didn't he?
Yeah, I think it was Trayvon Diggs. They were going at it a couple times during the training camp earlier in the offseason.
If I was the quarterback for the Dallas Cowboys and somebody called me the B word, they'd be in the unemployment line. That lets me know, you're muted, Kevin, but that lets me know that they are losing respect for him.
Well, I mean, he's not that guy, Barry. He's not really like the type to like get in your face like Aaron Rodgers or John Elway would. That's not Dak. That's not really his thing.
And that's fine. But the thing about it is, I like Dak a lot. I think Dak is a good person, but at the same time, there's something got to be going on for people to start calling this man out his name, and he the leader of the team. Something wrong.
Oh, dude, not just that, and then the trading for Trey Lance too. That's even more questionable.
Didn't even tell him.
Yeah, and you got to think about it. I mean, would they have done that to Peyton Manning or Brady in their prime? Hey, we're going to trade for a young quarterback, give up a 4th round pick, and bring him in, and not tell you about it. No.
Right.
You don't get called the B word in practice if you've got the respect of your team, period.
I was going to say, if you're the leader.
Nobody's calling or Aaron Rodgers, Josh Allen, Patrick Mahomes. No. They're not calling them names like that during practice.
And not expect to stay on the team.
Yeah. Or get punched in the mouth.
Right.
Yeah. I think it shows, too, that he is not – he's, Tony Romo, whether we like him or not, what he did in Dallas was kind of different. He earned the respect and went through some hard times with the Cowboys, and I think he gained more respect for that. And honestly, he probably could have played a whole lot longer. He was pretty good.
Tony Romo is funny. Tony Romo is funny. He's very smart.
Super well respected in the locker room too, and
I love to hear him commentate. He up there with Madden, if you ask me. I love to hear him commentate a game, man. Him, Madden, Chris Berman, what's the and JB? Them my Santa Clauses. Hey guys, I'm gonna move to the next slide. And speaking of nice guys, Russell Wilson. Read this right here. Will you effing stop kissing all the babies? you're not running for public office. And this is not the first statement that I've heard come out to the media from the media about a little rub between Peyton and Russell. And I wonder how much of this is Peyton trying to, uh, you know, elevate Russell's play and trying to support him, rather than the media trying to create some type of havoc in between them, right? So the question is, why do people care so much about Russell Wilson's personality? Does it get penalized for being too nice? What's up, Kevin?
You know, here's the thing about Russell Wilson. I don't know who the guy is. I don't. I think he's inauthentic. I think he tries to polish himself up for the media, and I think this was a direct quote from his coach, because I think his coach feels the same way. We don't need Russell Wilson to be out there kissing babies. What we need you to be concerned with is being the best football player you can be. Uh, and he's obviously got the talent. We've all seen what Russell Wilson can do when he's doing his thing. But I can't say he's a bad guy, because I've only ever seen him, talking about his faith, and not necessarily his faith. He's just, I don't know. There's something about it that I look at him. I'm like, man, are you like, is this really you, or are you trying to, get some more advertisement dollars? I don't, it's like Tim Tebow. I look at Tim Tebow and I say, okay, that guy doesn't have a lick of talent to be in the NFL, but he, at least, I think he's honest about it, and he didn't care what people, think about it. But I think Russell Wilson does care, and I think that's a little bit of his issue right now. It's hard for me to explain.
No, that's a great point. What do you say, Havoc?
Well, Russell Wilson, I'd say he's a different case. He comes across to me as he's very corny, and I think that's what happens to make him rub people the wrong way. You got to think about, guys, you're the quarterback, the leader of a locker room of about what's an average football team, about 60 men on the roster.
53 on the roster.
53-man roster.
53-man roster. And then your quarterback is your leader, right? And then, you come up and you see this guy he's not the typical, like, quarterback. He's kind of like, how do I put this properly? Like a nerd in an NFL quarterback's body.
He wants to make everybody happy.
Mm-hmm.
It's that, and then he comes across as corny. His timing's bad, and then I've heard teammates like say stuff like, he'll bring up random about Harry Potter or talk about faith at the wrong time, and he just doesn't seem like a very socially aware guy. Great player, but I just think like he hasn't learned how to communicate well in the locker room. And Pete Carroll hit a lot of this in Seattle, guys. Remember, he wasn't the leader in Seattle. The Legion of Boom was, and Marshawn Lynch and Pete Carroll were, not Russell Wilson. Russell Wilson has never had to develop the full leadership qualities. Last year was the first example of that, and look at how that turned out. It didn't turn out well.
And they wasn't winning.
Right.
And that doesn't help.
Yeah, winning cures all.
Right. What do you say, Dalton?
Yeah.
So I think, here's what I think. Maybe it's because I agree. It's almost like it's in Seattle. I almost think they were going to push him out if he didn't decide to leave, because he was going to be the focal point of the team and the leader, try to be the leader. And they knew it wasn't going to work out. And I think that Seattle is one of those things. It's like the team is the only thing that matters with Pete Carroll. And I mean, it shows they've won with a couple of different quarterbacks. Geno Smith has been successful in times. So I think that is a true team. And maybe he is a cancer, but I don't think he is purposely a cancer like some of these other guys are. Like Antonio Brown, hit late in his career. He's a cancer anywhere he went, causing problems. I think with this scenario, this may be a wild take, okay? And I hope nobody comes down on me online for this. but it almost seems like the relationship with Sierra has kind of made him change. Like, and what I mean by that, I think he's a great person. He's taking care of a child that's, it's not his blood son, the rapper Future's son. And, he gets a lot of flack for being caught up in that relationship with, Future on the other side or whatever and I don't think that's right to give a man flack for taking care of a child, but it almost seems like he does do things to, I guess, highlight just how good of a person he is, almost in a battle against Future. It sounds weird. I don't know, but that's how I feel. It's almost like this battle between, I want to show I'm the best guy in the world, and this is why Sierra left famous rapper Future for me. I don't even know if it's about football. I think he is the Kawhi Leonard of the NFL. If this guy laughs, I guarantee you it sounds funny.
That's a good comparison.
He is the Kawhi Leonard he's awkward. He's super talented. But for me, I've seen a change since their relationship. And I think maybe it's because he's been pushed to the focal point of a team, and he has to be the leader, and he's the face of the franchise. And let's be honest, in Seattle, we never really looked at him as the face of the franchise, like I think Havoc said. So that's where I'm at. This is like the weirdest topic ever to talk about. This was a great question because you can really – it's kind of hard to explain this guy. He's a crazy cat, I don't know. If somebody told me he was a serial killer in 10 years, I'd be like, well, you know what? I guess so. Maybe so. He's a little crazy, a little different. But maybe we just all take him a little bit differently. I don't know. I'm interested to hear what somebody else has got to say.
What do you say, Price?
Man, Russell Wilson, would you really want him being your leader? Have you ever heard this man give a pregame speech or hype his players up before they go on the field or in the huddle? When I listen to him talk, there's three things that I want to do. I want to eat a burrito, drink a beer, and take a nap. I wouldn't run through a brick wall for this guy. I mean, just listen to him. It's like, dog, are you giving us a speech that you wrote down and you rehearsed on your way to the stadium, or you really talking from your heart and wanting to go out here and accomplish something? To me, Russell Wilson is just not a leader, period. So, I've already gave my big spiel on him and everything that's going on, in Denver to begin with. And maybe that's the beginning of Sean Payton setting a standard that he wants to have set in Denver. So maybe, Payton will come around and he won't be on a hot seat anytime soon because of this dude. But man, Russell Wilson, he couldn't lead me to nothing.
I do believe that Peyton is trying to calibrate Russell Wilson's personality, and he knows Russell Wilson has the talent. It's undeniable that he has the talent, but I do think that it's hard for somebody with Russell's personality to fit into an environment that is filled with that much testosterone. And we all have where it doesn't bother me, his leadership doesn't bother me. I can see how it will bother a lot of other people. If you really think about it, even Tom Brady, you look at Tom Brady, you don't think of Tom Brady as a macho man. He ain't thoroughbred havoc, right? Okay, but he will get fired up. And he'll let some words go that you can't really say in certain places sometimes. But people respected Tom for that, And I think that Russ does have a certain level of inauthenticity, right? I do think that his relationship with Sierra impacts him, not necessarily in a bad way. but all wives impact their husbands, and none of us married to Sierra. You know, that's kind of a big deal, right? But my hope is, because I do like Russell. I think he is a authentically good guy. Like, I would much rather my daughter be married to Russell Wilson in all of his corniness than in the future. I just
I
wouldn't.
agree.
You understand me? So what I think happens is, I do believe Russell has a goal of being a nice guy, being somebody that protects the shield. Because somebody brought up Antonio Brown earlier. Oh my God! To me, they should have never let this guy back into the league. But you hammering Russell Wilson. It
Yeah.
seems a bit hypocritical. We want nice guys, but we want them packaged the way that we want them packaged, and we want them to be talented at the same time. I just feel like we sending mixed messages, but I can understand both sides. Moving on to the GOAT of the league right now. Joined at the chip. Who has benefited the other the most? Has Mahomes benefited from having Kelsey the most, or have Kelsey benefited from having Mahomes the most? And the reason I answer this question, it's not loaded or anything, but I was listening to some things today, and I think Kelsey might have had a little slight injury, and people were actually saying again that Mahomes, he can't make it without Kelsey. The same thing they said to him about Tyreek Hill. So, but we do know that Kelsey is he's a phenom. That's nothing. I mean, until I seen Kelsey, I thought Gonzalez was the best tight end that I had ever watched play football. And I'm gonna tell y'all something. We're gonna have a segment one day on tight ends, because I love tight ends. I think they are just like this. They just a little sweet spot in the NFL. But what do you say, Dalton? Who benefits the most?
Well, like you say, no disrespect. We have to pick one. It's the question. But no disrespect to Travis Kelsey, but I do think he benefits the most. I think you could go down to Polk County Public Waste Department and find the quickest guy they got over there. His name's probably Ronnie, and put him on the Kansas City Chiefs with Patrick Mahomes, and he's gonna ball out. What this reminds me of is, you didn't even mention the greatest tight end of all time. It's Robert Gronkowski, if we're being frank. But it's just like this. Who benefited the most in that situation? It's Gronkowski. He benefited from Tom Brady, and Tom Brady was throwing to guys that worked at Rockmart City, commissioner's office. I mean, this guy threw to anybody and everybody, and it seems that's what Mahomes is about. You take Tyreek Hill; he has the best year of his career. You take away Mecole Hardman, who was that really, he was a big threat in that offense at that time. Now he's got Sammy Watkins. If he's still there, I'm not sure if he's still there or not. But it's like the door is always revolving with Pat Mahomes. I mean, I truly think he could win with anybody, especially in this day and age in the NFL. Even if he does, run down the field, perfectly fine. He gets up and then he's limping. He likes to pull that whole charade. But Travis Kelsey has benefited the most, as bad as that is to say. But Travis Kelsey also showed out with really any quarterback he's ever had, Alex Smith. So that's just how I look at it. It's a tough question. Good question.
What do you say, Havoc?
Yeah, Travis Kelsey's definitely benefited the most. Just because if you look at Mahomes' stats, like Steve said, like he had multiple 5,000-yard passing seasons. So obviously he was spreading the ball around. It wasn't just Kelsey catching passes. And two, they've both benefited from Andy Reid's system, but especially Kelsey, because Andy Reid's really known how to use Kelsey, moves him around well, and he just fits the offense. And then with Mahomes, I mean, how could he not uh, benefit the most? I mean, Mahomes has won 2 MVPs, 2 Super Bowls. Definitely Travis Kelsey.
Havoc, I love what you said about Andy Reid. Andy Reid does not get the credit he deserves.
No,
Andy Reid does more with less than anybody. He just does. And he just doesn't get the love. So yeah, you're right. They both probably benefit more from Andy than they do from the other. What'd you say, Kevin?
Well, first things first, that tight end segment in the future will be fun because y'all don't even mention the greatest ever, Shannon Shay Sharp. So I don't
Okay.
even want to talk about Kelsey being in that league yet. But anyway, yeah, it's definitely Kelsey, man. I mean, Patrick Mahomes has the ball in his hands every play. He he decides where the ball goes. If Kelsey don't want to get, if he don't want to throw the ball to Kelsey, Kelsey ain't getting paid. So, I mean, Kelsey is definitely going to be in Hall of Fame tight end. He's great, and Andy Reid does a good job, like Havoc said, moving him around. But man, Patrick Mahomes drives that entire team. Him and Andy Reid, I believe it's much like Belichick and Brady. I felt drove the Patriots, not one or the other. It was both of them. But Patrick Mahomes, man, you see him throw at every angle imaginable. It's almost like he could do this with his eyes closed. It's as close to Michael Jordan as I've seen since Michael Jordan.
100%. What you say, Price?
I disagree with all. And the reason why is because when you have a tight end like Travis Kelsey, and this is coming from a coaching standpoint, when you got a tight end like Kelsey and a tight end like Gronkowski, you have to game plan for them. You don't game plan for Mahomes throwing it sidearm. You don't game plan for him scrambling around. Those are things you're trying to do and you're trying to contain and everything else as far as getting him off his spots, how you're going to get a sack here and there. What gaps do you want to try to pressure him on? But if that tight end is lined up out wide, if that tight end is lined up in a slot, if he's lined up in the backfield, if he's lined up on the end of the line of scrimmage, you got a linebacker who's got to figure out what he's going to do, period. Not what Mahomes is going to do. What is Kelsey going to do? And when you got a tight end that can run multiple routes, like a wide receiver, changes your whole game plan of what you're trying to do. You can throw it to anybody. If I know for a fact that your safety can't help on my wideouts, and I know for a fact that your safety has to cover up and help the linebacker with this tight end that could go across field, run in out patterns, run posts, run digs. When I got a tight end that can do that, you got to have a linebacker that can cover, and you got to pray to God that they don't have a wide receiver like Hill or anybody else on the outside that can blow the top off of a defense, because that's going to put all kind of stress and strain on your safeties. And then you say, okay, well, we'll just have the safety plan umbrella, and we'll have Kelsey covered, and we'll have the wide receiver covered. Then who's going to cover the back out of the backfield in the flats? So a tight end who can go and run all patterns, can line up anywhere on the line of scrimmage that you have to game plan for, that's going to benefit that quarterback a lot more because your personnel won't change. You can't say because Kelsey is out here wide, let's run this guy out here who's a nickel coverage and let's put him on him. No, buddy, it's too late. Your linebacker and your safety has to cover that because the personnel that's in the huddle is going to dictate what personnel that you got on defense. And when you got tight ends like that and you can't change that personnel, if you don't have an athletic linebacker who can cover, and you don't have to worry about a safety giving help to a linebacker with a wide receiver that could blow the top off of a defense, you're not going to get nowhere. So to me, that's the reason why these tight ends that we're talking about, such as Gonzalez and Shannon Sharp and and Kelsey and Gronk. That's the reason why we talk about them, is because you can't sit here and say that I'm going to put this guy on him and I'm going to put that guy on him, because the personnel never changes in the huddle and you're forced to have to cover it. So to me, tight ends like that, they benefit the quarterbacks.
All
Yeah,
right.
and those four you mentioned, they changed the game. Let's be honest. They have changed the game so much that now you have a Brock Bowers at Georgia that is become this. I mean, honestly, he's
Kyle
he's
Pitts.
unguardable.
Kyle
He
Pitts.
fits all of them together, and it's like now I truly think we're going to be seeing more of this hybrid tight end where they can block, they can run true routes, they can outrun people, but they're also too big to where corners can't get them down, safeties can't get them down, but they're too quick for their linebackers. Those four you just mentioned have changed the game. Honestly, it's arguably they've changed the game more than any other player in NFL history or
And
any
you know
other.
what? And you know what? Every one of them had a Hall of Fame quarterback. What do you say, Tony?
I agree with Coach Price to an extent on the coaching standpoint, but this is where I disagree, and he probably ain't gonna like it too much. So, I honestly, if it's not just Travis Kelce that's benefiting more of Patrick Mahomes, I think he's benefiting more from Andy Reid on top of it. Because like Coach Price is saying, from the coaching standpoint, all that success, that's 100% Andy Reid, man. And I'm one of those guys, I think Andy Reid's getting close to the GOAT conversation.
I do too.
That man wins another 1 to 2 Super Bowls. It's a real consideration. I think he's in it already. But my thing is, when you look at Mahomes, right, I don't think he's had the same running back for multiple seasons in a row yet since being in leagues. What do you have? Kareem Hunt. Then he decided to punch a woman in the daggum hotel lobby. And then Barry, you ain't gonna like it, they draft your boy from LSU and he busts out. And then they had somebody else. And now they got Pacheco, I think his name is.
Pacheco's fire.
He's good, don't get me wrong, but look at last season though, he really didn't come on to the playoffs.
Yeah,
they was rotating
when he did.
They were rotating 2 to 3 guys, and that's the thing. When he came on, that's what helped Mahomes out more, because if you look at his receivers last year, outside of Kelce, I mean, who was his receiver one? There's none of them that you're looking at like, that's my go-to guy. What, Juju Smith-Schuster, Kadarius Toney? I mean, and what's even crazier and really shows me how great Mahomes is like y'all said, Tyreek Hill left. Tyreek Hill got better by the numbers, but the Chiefs' offense got better than they were with Tyreek. The numbers were better without him than with him. And that's unreal to me to think of, because Tyreek Hill's a game changer. I don't care how tall he is. Like Coach Price, he can take the top off the defense at any time. And it's so hard debating this with Kelce, because I think there's 3 tight ends in today's game when it comes between Travis Kelce, George Kittle, and Mark Andrews.
Yep.
If you throw them guys in any era, and they excel. And those 3 guys,
I agree.
Those 3 guys, bearing injury, all those 3 guys may end up top 5 tight ends of all time, and they're all in the game together. And that's not even counting guys with the talent like Darren Waller, that if he could stay healthy, he's up there. Because when Darren Waller's healthy, he's unguardable.
Our guys coming like the Georgia boy.
Yeah, Brock Bowers is unreal. But this is a really tough subject. I think if you take Kelce away, obviously Mahomes don't have the success that he's had, but he's still pretty dang good if he doesn't have him, in my opinion. I don't think Kelce puts up his numbers if he has, just in not average but above average quarterback. I don't think he puts up the same as he does with Mahomes. But I think, like I said, Mahomes has proven that he can win a Super Bowl with average to below average receivers and running backs. He's never had a great run game.
He's done it the whole time that he's been in the league, and I'll just sum this slide up to say it's really the trifecta, man.
And without a defense, Barry. No defense ever.
Andy Reid, Patrick Mahomes, and Travis Kelce. We'll have this show we'll have a segment on the show coming up, but that might be the best trifecta it's definitely one of the best trifecta. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, and Tony, though, I mean, the Kansas City Chiefs, you're talking about their defense. It is awful.
It's
But
terrible.
you know who their defense reminds me of? Auburn. It's situational defense. They might give up 600 yards in the game, but when their defense has to step up,
They're gonna get that one.
somebody's getting a sack.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, Chris Jones will get that sack.
yeah, Chris Jones. So it's like I don't know, but you're right. I mean, their defense has been terrible too for the most part.
Well, guys, whenever you have a king and a throne, somebody got to come for the throne. And so I want to ask you guys, Rodgers, Allen, Hurts, or Burrow. Now, I left out Herbert. I could have added Herbert to this too. But which is the biggest threat to the throne? What you say, Coach?
No doubt in my mind, Mr. Aaron Rodgers.
What?
I think, look, man, you don't underestimate the process that's going on in New York right now. I mean, first of all, he's going to be throwing the ball to the Rookie of the Year. He's got great receivers there. The defense, I dare anybody say that the Jets don't have a good defense.
Fact.
So you put Aaron Rodgers on a team who's already a guy who knows how to manage the clock and can win one in the end when needed. You're putting, in other words, what I really think is going on in the league is when you got players who've been with teams for a long time, such as Tom Brady and Aaron Rodgers, I think when they go to another city, it brings something out in them that they were getting burnt out on where they were at. So I look at, Rodgers going in and having a Tom Brady-ish type season. Don't quote no Super Bowls out of that. I'm just talking about making the Jets relevant in their division. And, like I said, he's going to a city where he's actually being handed the throne by one of the greatest to ever do it in the city. And Kevin and TJ, I don't want to hear nothing out of you, but Willie Joe Namath is the GOAT in New York. And the magic
Right.
that man is going to bring to somebody like Aaron Rodgers coming back to that city, as bad as he want to see the Jets do something great before he departs us, dog, Jets got something to play for that's bigger than football, and they put Aaron Rodgers on the squad to help him get there.
I have to buy into that a little bit, Coach. What do you say, Dalton?
So, man, you hit it on the head there, Coach. That you made me kind of. I mean, I hear your argument.
You ain't a DB. Don't be backpedaling now.
And I'll be honest, I hate Aaron Rodgers. I think he is the cheesiest dude on the planet Earth, to be honest.
Well, he spent all those years in the Green Bay.
Man, I can't stand Aaron Rodgers, but no, he's in a great spot over there. But I'm going with Jalen Hurts. And the reason I'm going Jalen Hurts is this man has been doubted his whole entire life, it seems. And he has been nothing but a standout individual and a standout athlete. He's somebody I think, you'd let your daughter go to prom with, like you were talking about, Barry, instead of Future. I agree with that. I think Jalen Hurts, let's be honest, you can make an argument he outplayed the man who is on the throne in last year's Super Bowl. And that's how I look at it. I think he did outplay Patrick Mahomes. And I think if you want to talk about winning an MVP in a losing fashion, that could have been one of those, rare moments in history. But the reason I think Jalen Hurts is because later in this show, you'll see why. I think we're going to see a rematch, and the throne is at stake. I think you're going to see the Chiefs and the Eagles. And let's be honest, if you would have told me you woke up on Monday morning after the Super Bowl last year and the Eagles won that game, I wouldn't be shocked. They were right there. And arguably they have probably the best roster in all of NFL. I see him being right there to take the throne. We'll see what happens.
Dalton, it is hard, almost impossible to throw back to back in the NFL. It always has been. I feel like it too, but I just
I
can't.
wouldn't be shocked if
I
both
couldn't finish
teams
that.
are not there.
Yeah, that's going to be interesting. What do you say, Havoc?
I got to go with someone who's actually not on that list. Brock Purdy and the 49ers are the biggest threat to Mahomes, just because the overall talent roster of that team, if they can keep Brock Purdy healthy, which is a big if. Now they do have Sam Darnold as a backup. If they can keep him healthy, they're the biggest threat. And they got rid of the Trey Lance problem. So makes it even better for them.
Hey,
Yeah.
Havoc, let's be honest. Brock Purdy has not lost a game
No.
that he has played the entirety of the game.
He has not.
And one thing we have
to in big moments.
Well, he snuck up on everybody.
Yeah.
And it's when you sneak, when you get that sucker punch in, it counts. But this year is going to be a little different because now people are saying, "Oh, now you can play. We're going to have to plan for you." What do you say, Bama?
I'm a results guy, man. Give me the guy that's already 3-1 against Patrick Mahomes, Joe Burrow. He's only lost once, 2023 AFC Championship game. I mean, what else is there to say? Joe Burrow led the Cincinnati Bengals in rushing that game.
Wow.
So he did all he could do. Now he did throw two picks in that game, but things happen. And I'm no fan of Joe Burrow. I didn't think he was deserving of the number 1 pick coming out of LSU. I thought he was kind of a gimmick, and he's proved me wrong. And that guy, I mean, he's right there battling with Patrick Mahomes as the best quarterback in all of football, to me. And if he can get over that hump, if he can just finally just beat him in the playoffs to get to the Super Bowl, regardless if he wins or not, then I'm gonna put him there with Mahomes because he's as talented as anybody.
Yeah, he's definitely he has to be. He has
whatever it is. Joe Burrows has it.
He has it, man. He definitely has it. What do you say, 2-turn?
All right, so I got 2 of them. I'm gonna go off the original list right here first. So I kind of want to agree with Kevin. When Burrow is healthy, I think he is top tier. Because let's be honest, he's never had a line. He's one of the worst lines in the league.
Yeah.
And he should have won a Super Bowl. He should have won it. But, sometimes things just don't happen like that. But that's the thing with the NFL and quarterbacks, man. Same thing with Tua. Longevity. Can you be there? And then him coming straight off this calf injury, I can't put him up there yet. And Josh Allen, he can't win the big game. I mean, let's look at it. Last year against the Dolphins, I mean, you had a chance to win the game, and that's a huge divisional game to boost you up where they had a chance to actually win the division. He's got a receiver wide open in the end zone from 4 yards out. I mean, they're at the 5-yard line. He throws the ball dead into the ground, 2 yards short. If that was Tua or freaking Daniel Jones, everybody would be calling for his head.
DJ, I don't want to cut you off, but I just looked up that sack number. Joe Burrow, he's averaging 41 sacks every season.
Unreal.
He's been sacked 41 times on average per season.
Mm-hmm.
Now, with Coach Price, I wanted to say Aaron Rodgers but the problem is that division has went from when Brady was there, like arguably the worst division in the league, to now it's by far the best subdivision in the league. I mean, you got the Dolphins, Bills, Jets, and who am I missing?
Patriots.
And the Patriots. I mean, the Patriots aren't great, but I mean, they got an offense coordinator in there now. We'll see what they're made of. But you got 3 teams in that division that legit could contend for a Super Bowl. Because the Jets' defense has been great. They've been lacking offense. And look, Aaron Rodgers is by no means a dumb man. He went there for a reason. He set that up perfectly. And he got Lazard to come with him. Lazard's hurt right now, but that's a vertical threat to go with Garrett Wilson. And they got 2 running backs in the backfield. I mean, Dalvin Cook's not that huge guy. I think he's just going to be a power back in that offense. But you got Breece Hall. Breece Hall healthy is a very underrated guy. But I got to agree with Dalton. Jalen Hurts has gotten better every single year since he's been in the league. And, yes, the Eagles have gotten better around him. But when he first got there, the Eagles' line was terrible. He didn't have any weapons to throw to. His best receiver was Nelson Aguilar. the Eagles made a trade, got A.J. Brown, and then you pull in Devonta Smith. And I thought Miles Sanders was a decent running back. They got rid of him, and now you got DeAndre Swift, who's, when he's healthy, is a great back. Shifty, can
Could be
catch
top 5.
Yeah, can hit the tackles, everything. And you got the freaking Philadelphia Crimson Bulldogs on defense.
That's
It
right.
ain't nothing but Bama in Georgia. Where could you go wrong?
Yeah.
If Jalen Hurts, and I feel bad for this because there was no bigger hater of Jalen Hurts than me after his sophomore year at Alabama. He couldn't hit the broadside of a barn. We lost to Auburn. He lost to, I think, LSU that year too. He couldn't complete a pass. So I just kind of got off his train. And ever since then, I said he wasn't going to be an NFL quarterback. Well, he proved me wrong.
We lost 2. We beat LSU. We only lost 2 with him, but we lost to Clemson and we lost to Auburn. But I was at the Auburn game.
Five or six times that season. I mean, we only had like 147 yards passing. It was crazy.
Yeah.
But now it's to me, Hurts has proven he can play in the league at a high level. Now, what I'm hearing from other people is, well, his offensive coordinator left. So if he can prove this, if he can replicate even 75% of what he did last year with a new offensive coordinator this year, he's got nothing left to prove. He's a top level NFL quarterback.
And Kevin, the thing is, last year we didn't really get to see full potential Jalen Hurts. I mean, let's be real about it. The man didn't play but halfway through the third quarter in 80% of their games.
I know.
It's true. They were shellacking people.
He could have threw for maybe 4,000 yards and 40 touchdowns. We don't know. We didn't get to see it. And the thing is, like I said, he's gotten there. At some point, you got to give credit for being a student of the game. And that's exactly what he is. He's conscious. You can't teach work ethic, man. He is that guy.
That's it. And that's what I always banked on Jalen. And just like Kevin said, we went around with Jalen, but Kevin was focusing on what he was like, what can you do for me? What do you do for me now? But I saw something, and I just couldn't believe that somebody with that talent, that athleticism and work ethic, like you just said, Tony, couldn't make it somewhere. It was a gamble. It was potential. We don't really know what any of these guys are going to do. And just like you said, Tony, it depends on where you land.
Yeah.
You can be a great player and just land somewhere that's just terrible. So, you have to give some credit to the Philadelphia Eagles.
Yeah, about saying Sirianni, however you say his name, I think it's Sirianni.
Yeah.
He chose to build his entire offense around Jalen Hurts, not around A.J. Brown. They built the entire offense around Jalen. Look at it. I had Dylan ain't on here or not, but Dylan was saying Gardner Minshew's going to take his spot. Gardner Minshew's a better quarterback than Jalen. Gardner Minshew came into the game when Jalen was hurt with that shoulder last year, and guess what happened? They got beat by the Cowboys.
And you know what? You go back to what we was talking about with Russell Wilson and talk about leadership.
Oh, there's none
better. Is there a better leader than Jalen Hurts?
No.
I mean,
by example,
when you see Jalen Hurts, I want to go play football.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
I play for him. Got the medal. He just got
just hearing him talk. Just hearing him talk in a press conference makes you want to go play for him.
Yeah, I mean, he I guess that's what Russell doesn't give. Which, like I said, I love Russell Wilson, but I can understand how somebody would want to get behind a Jalen Hurts.
Yeah,
you see what I'm saying? He just got a certain level of. Let's just say he's a man's man. Yeah. I got a little trivia for you guys.
I got one more thing real quick, Barry.
Go ahead.
My last thing was the outside team looking in with the quarterback to go after the throne, the Jacksonville Jaguars. There's something very special being built down there around Trevor Lawrence, and the addition of Calvin Ridley is huge. I'm not saying they're going to do it this year, but I'm telling you, I think the Jacksonville Jaguars win a Super Bowl within the next 3 years.
You know what? He better, because people are going to start talking about him like everybody else, just like with Herbert. But I do agree. They special, and that coach, what's the coach name?
Peterson.
Peterson. We used to go. He won the Super Bowl in
Philly.
Yeah, he's a good coach, man. He's a good coach. Okay, NFL trivia. Which NFL team has had the number one pick? Has never had the number one pick overall in the drafts. Never had it.
I'm gonna say B.
That's me. B.
Anybody else?
B, because I don't think
I mean, I know for a fact that the Patriots had a number one pick.
overall.
If Bill Belichick had it, he'd probably trade it for 3 7th-round wide
Yeah.
receivers.
See, and Kevin, that's what's got me screwed up because I'm like, wait a minute, the Bill had a chance.
No, I don't think Bill's ever had a bad enough record to have number one pick.
Denver is the answer. So y'all knocked that one out. And so, guys, for the last two slides, we're gonna really get into this. We're gonna talk about the divide and conquer. Okay, and let's just kind of keep it short and sweet and get through it. And I don't want you to pick the division right now or the Super Bowl. What I want you to do with this slide right now is to answer this question: which is the best and or most competitive division in the NFL? Okay, not necessarily who got the best team, but what is the most which is the most competitive? What'd you say, Coach?
Well, short and simple. We just got through talking about it pretty much in the last segment, but I'm gonna go with the AFC East. It's the only division to me in the NFL that's got all four teams with a starting quarterback that can actually win a ball game. And I'm not talking about just go out and win a ball game. I mean like win a ball game, a minute 14 seconds left on the clock. You got to go 70 yards and you can literally drive it down the field and get a game winning field goal or a game winning touchdown. And that's the East because you got Rodgers, you got Allen, and you got the two Alabama boys and Tua and Mac Jones. So to me, the AFC East is the most competitive division just because to me, they got four starting quarterbacks that can take their teams further than the average.
And I'm gonna piggyback off of Coach Price. That's I ain't even got to speak. I'm with him. The AFC East.
What you say, Dalton?
I'm gonna go out on a limb right here. I mean, I don't disagree with y'all in the AFC East. I think that is let's say this. I'll call that the best division in all of football, but I'll give you the most competitive division, and it's the NFC North. We've got the Packers with Jordan Love as a new quarterback, a lot to prove there. The Detroit Lions, it really seems like this is their year to win the division. Jared Goff at quarterback, I think he's very underrated. I don't think he's great by any means, but he is underrated. Jahmyr Gibbs coming in there at running back, and they already had a great backup to DeAndre Swift with him leaving, so I don't think there's any trouble there. Good defense. And then you got the Bears, Justin Fields with a lot to prove. He's got to make it happen this year, it seems like. And then you always got Mr. Maybe above average / average himself, Kirk Cousins, with a lot to prove in Minnesota. And this could be Minnesota's last real chance, it feels like. It really does feel like this is their last chance to win the division. That's your most competitive division, in my opinion.
What up, Havoc?
I got to go with the AFC North. So the Steelers, Bengals, Ravens, and the Browns. The only team that I think probably will fall behind, but will be close, is the Cleveland Browns. Just because I don't see Deshaun Watson. I think they probably need another year, but expect big things from the Bengals with those three good receivers: Boyd, Higgins, and Jamar Chase. And Joe Burrow has been cleared to play. And then the Ravens with Lamar Jackson coming back and adding Odell Beckham. I think it's going to be a pretty interesting race in that division.
I'm not sold on the Ravens.
What up, Bama?
I'm kind of like what Steve said. I think the East is the best division, and I don't really think there's no one really else has an argument as far as all four teams. Most competitive, I think the AFC North is going to be the most competitive. I'd see all four of those teams making some noise, like Havoc was saying, I don't think the Browns are going to make as much noise as the other three. But I mean, you got Lamar Jackson, the NFL MVP. Kenny Pickett's looked great this preseason. Mike Tomlin's a hell of a coach, and then you got the Bengals and Burrow. So I think that's going to be a real competitive division.
All right, guys. I think I'm going to. I do like the AFC East, and what I pray to God that Tua can stay healthy the whole year and see what happens. I like to see a good old division and matchup between Tua and Mac Jones. See what that turned out to be. That's a real good. It's hard to argue against that. I do think, like Havoc said, the AFC North though that's going to be a beast, and I'm going to disagree with you guys. I think this is going to be the year that we see. Can't think of his name right now. Watson turning around. I think I'm like Tony. I'm not real big on the Ravens. They're going to win some games. They're going to probably be competitive. So I guess what I'm saying is we're in for a lot of good football this year.
I think a lot of people have forgotten how good and what level Deshaun Watson was at
I
before
do
he
too.
got in all that trouble.
I do too.
I mean, he was throwing 400 or 500 yards every game. I mean,
And you got Nick Chubb. You got a
Yeah,
running
so
game.
that-
I mean,
yeah,
this is
And Amari Cooper.
don't sleep on the Browns.
Don't sleep on the Browns yet.
I'm telling
sleeping on the
you.
Ravens.
It's so easy to sleep on the Browns. Let's be honest. Come on.
Because they're the Browns.
Yeah.
I'm gonna tell you
But
what,
for the last couple of years, they or 2 or 3 years, they haven't been the Browns that we know of though. The ones that go 0-16. They've been okay.
you just gonna have to shake me and wake me up when it comes to the Ravens. I'm with you, Barry, on the Browns. I think the Browns are gonna be solid. I don't know, they're great, but the Ravens, man, it's just their defense. For me, I mean, yeah, Lamar turns the ball over every now and then and usually costs them a game. We ain't seen Odell do anything in 7-8 years.
Yeah.
I mean,
Odell.
he's just a hands guy out there. He's not out there going to just kill people with routes, man. He's trying to keep that knee healthy as he can. But I'm pretty sure Marlon Humphrey actually just got hurt, the Ravens' best corner, and he's out an extended amount of time, I'm pretty sure. Like, they were already hurting in the secondary, and they don't have much of a D-line. I just don't see the Ravens, unless they're scoring 40 a game, I don't see them winning that division or even finishing top 2, because I expect the Steelers to take a huge jump this year. I expect George Pickens to finally have a really good year because he's fully healthy. I think Pickett's a decent quarterback that's on the come up. You got Najee Harris in the backfield, and Mike Tomlin knows defense.
Oh yeah, I mean
he's never had a losing season.
That's what he knows. But he almost did last year. He was scraping one out last year.
Hey,
almost only counts on hand
that's
grenades.
A positive,
and
Barry. Someone would have thought they were that last year.
That's fair. Well, let's get into it. Since we're here, let's go do it. We'll start at the top with the coach. Hey, listen, let's go ahead. We're about an hour and a half in right now. Let's go ahead and let's name the winner of each one of these divisions. Go straight down, just name who you want, and we'll all go through these and figure out, and we'll get it on film so that I can go back and say, oh, man, you was terribly wrong. And I was so right. All right, let's go, Coach. Let's start with the AFC East, go down, and just go straight into your North.
All right. AFC East, I got the Bills. The North, I got the Bengals. The West, I got Kansas City. The South, I got the Titans. NFC North, I got the Bears. The NFC East, I got the Eagles. The West, I got the 49ers. And this is going to shock the world. In the South, I got the Carolina Panthers.
Lord, yes, I'm definitely shocked. What'd you say, Dalton?
Well, I'll just go ahead and break it to you, Coach. I'm going to shock the world even more with what I got to say. I'm going to start on the left side. I got the Detroit Lions winning the division. In the North. In the East, I'm going to go with the New York Giants. I like what they got going on over there. Daniel Jones not getting enough credit. I think they surprise a lot of people, but I still think the Eagles make it somewhere we'll talk about soon. The West, 49ers, no doubt about it. NFC South, this is where I'll shock the world when I say this. I have a hunch. Somebody's put it in my nose. I smell it. Tampa Bay Buccaneers win the NFC South. A lot to prove over there for Baker Mayfield.
Hmm.
On the AFC side, I got the Bengals winning it. I like the Bengals. AFC East, it hurts me to say this. Oh, it hurts. I got to go Buffalo Bills. AFC West, I think it's going to be the Chiefs, unfortunately. It is. Let's be honest. And then to wrap it up, the South, I got the Jacksonville Jaguars.
All right. Thoroughbred Havoc.
All right, so let's start with the NFC East, and I got the Eagles winning that division. NFC West, I got the 49ers. NFC North, I got the Minnesota Vikings. And finally, the NFC South, I'm going to pick the New Orleans Saints. Then on to the AFC. The AFC East, I'm going to go with the Bills. For the AFC West, I'm going to go with the Chiefs. For the AFC North, I'm going to go with the Cincinnati Bengals. And finally, last but not least, for the AFC South, I'm going to go with Jacksonville Jaguars.
Nice. Jacksonville getting some love, baby. What do you say, Bama?
NFC North, I've got Detroit. They're a good team. The East, well, I really want to pick New York, but I've still got to go with the Eagles, Jalen Hurts, all that talent. The West, the 49ers. NFC South, I'm going to go with the Saints. And then AFC North, I'm going to go Pittsburgh.
Wow.
I'm going to go Pittsburgh. I like what they're doing, and I love Mike Tomlin. In the NFC East, I'm going to say Tua stays healthy, and Miami wins that division. NFC West or AFC West, Kansas City. And then in the South, I got Jacksonville as well.
Let's get turned.
Oh, we're going to get turned. And we're going to start with the AFC South. Tennessee Titans, baby. I wanted to pick Jacksonville Jaguars. You heard me say earlier that I feel like Trevor Lawrence and them. I still think they make a run. I just don't think they win the division. I think Tennessee wins it. I think adding DeAndre Hopkins changes their dynamic on offense, regardless of Ryan Tannehill, because you got to stop Derrick Henry and D-Hop now. Easier said than done. So I'm going to go Titans with the AFC South. I mean, Kansas City Chiefs with the West. I don't even think there's anything to talk about there. The AFC East, I'm going to agree with Kevin. I'm going with the Miami Dolphins. I think Tua finally stays healthy. You know, they taught him he had to go take some fall classes to learn how to not get a concussion.
Jiu-jitsu.
But, I mean, they got arguably the best roster in the NFL besides the Eagles. And you get Jalen Ramsey back after 3 or 4 weeks, and that defense is already great.
Yes, sir.
So Jalen Ramsey on top of him, and Xavier Howard on the other side. I don't know what Josh Allen can do against those guys because they're going to key in on Stephon Diggs. And then what's Gabe Davis, the other receiver? He's just a deep threat.
Yeah.
I'm going to wait on the AFC North. I'm going to get that one last. NFC North, I'm going to go Detroit Lions too. I just think their offense is too dynamic. I love their head coach, man. He's one of my favorite coaches in the NFL. That's one of the few guys who actually gives a crap about the players and winning as much as possible. NFC East, sticking with the Eagles. I just think they're too talented. Redskins are a few years away. The Cowboys are there, but I love Dak.
Commanders.
My bad. Commanders. I love Dak. He chokes, man. He chokes in the big one. I think the Giants finished second in that division because I'm a Daniel Jones guy. In the West, 49ers, I don't think there's a doubt about that unless you have injuries at the quarterback position. If they have injuries at quarterback, I got Seattle winning that division. The NFC South, I'm going with Coach Price. I think the Carolina Panthers win it. I'm not saying that the Panthers are great. I just think the division's that bad.
That's exactly.
The division's that bad. The Panthers got a good defense. They added Adam Thielen, a veteran receiver on offense, and then you also got DJ Chark, who's a really good deep threat. Bryce is going to struggle, but honestly, without even seeing a game, I mean, who's the quarterback in that division that you go, you know what? I think this guy's just better than him. Maybe Derek Carr.
Nope.
Hold on now. Baker Mayfield did play.
Oh, Lord, let's don't do this now.
He did. He played for an AFC championship game.
He might have
I'm
played
telling you,
for it.
Baker Mayfield will shock a lot of people this year. Don't be surprised if the Buccaneers win it.
It's not just Baker, though. The problem is, the problem with me, with the Buccaneers here, there's a lot of guys in there that are just trying to get this last year of their contract in and get out.
I agree.
Mike
Man,
Evans is
okay.
one of them.
Well, Baker Mayfield is kind of like the butter that comes in that you spread. The texture just the texture ain't gonna change, man. It doesn't matter what kind of bucket you put it in. The texture ain't gonna change. Baker Mayfield, man, he need to go back to making commercials in the stadium.
Who you got
With
in
it
the north,
empty,
Tony?
we might add. It's empty stadium code.
I really hate it that Kevin took it from me because I thought for sure I was the only one that was going to agree. I'm going Pittsburgh Steelers, man. I believe in Mike Tomlin. I believe in that offense taking the next step. I mean, I hope I'm not wrong. If I don't think the Bengals finish top 2.
What?
I know that sounds bad. Look, think about it, Barry. If I'm going with Pittsburgh, I agreed with you. I think Deshaun Watson's about to have his year.
I do.
So if Pittsburgh does what I think and Cleveland does what I think that knocks Cincinnati down to the 3 spot in that division. And that's just because, like I said, it's the health factors. If Burrow can stay healthy, if Chase can stay healthy, if they can keep their people on the line, because, I mean, they lose 2 to 3 linemen every year for extended amounts of time. There's just not enough.
What does the Steelers have on that team? What are they eating?
Mike Tomlin.
They can't get hurt. They can't get hurt.
Mike Tomlin has shown he can win 9 games or 8 or 9 games
with nothing.
With a terrible team.
And also, we were talking about tight ends earlier. Pittsburgh's got a really, really good tight end that people don't give credit. Freiermuth, or however you pronounce his name, dude, he is legit. So you got him in the passing game. Najee's one of the best running backs in the league. I don't care what anybody says. And that's not Bam. It's just the way he plays the game. I mean, you can hand it to him. You can throw it to him. He can pass protect. He's the complete package, and he doesn't. He's not a diva. And
I will be sending you guys some text messages for some of these bets because I just figured out a way I'm going to pay for Christmas.
Well, that's a surprise. That's my surprise pick. I'm not saying it's going to happen. I'm just saying it's the consistency thing for me. Like, yeah, it's easy to pick the Bengals to win it, but my thing is, like, they've been fighting these injuries and stuff for 2 to 3 years now. Eventually, that's going to catch up.
This thing that fell, everybody gets hurt. Let me give you mine. You know, I'm gonna go from top bottom, start on the left, top to bottom. Justin Fields have a breakout year. That the Bears win the division.
That's bold.
If he does it, I don't know what's gonna happen with him. Eagles, 49ers, and this is a big one right here, y'all. I'm just gonna do it.
I want my Christmas money if you say Atlanta.
Yeah, now.
Okay. I'm going with Atlanta to win that division. Bengals, Jets. And I'm not an Aaron Rodgers, but something is brewing in New York. It's going to be either really good or really bad. I'm going to go with the really good. Chiefs. And I'm also going to get on the Jaguars bandwagon. I think the Jaguars going to be. I think it's time. I think it's time for them. So we got one more thing to do, fellas, and y'all know what it is. Let me pull it up. Where you at? There can only be one. I want you guys to give me your AFC champion, your NFC champion, and your Super Bowl champion. We're going to go from the bottom up. We starting with old 2-turn.
Hey, I'm going to go with it, and it's going to have a crazier ending than you think. And it's just going to go back to history all the way back to college. I'm saying the Philadelphia Eagles make it back to the Super Bowl. Make it back. Miami Dolphins have their first Super Bowl appearance, and I don't even know when.
Woo!
But Jalen Hurts comes out on top. He beats the man on the biggest stage who took his spot on the biggest stage. Super Bowl chance, Jalen Hurts MVP.
Well, wouldn't that be a story?
Boy,
I think it'd be rigged. It'd be rigged if that happens, right?
dude, that would be the greatest.
Tell me a better 30 for 30.
But
Nah,
I'm gonna
I
tell you,
agree.
but I'm gonna tell you right now, and I'm gonna say this, and this may shock y'all. If that game happens, Miami's gonna win it. I just do not. If Tua stays up, I mean, because let's be honest, you talk about Tua getting through 17 and more games than that because you got to get to the Super Bowl.
With Waddle and Tyreek.
If he gets to the Super Bowl with that,
And a defense.
Philadelphia is not beating them.
I don't.
And I love Jalen Hurts. Philadelphia is not beating that Miami team. If they go that deep, it ain't happening.
Hey,
What do you think?
if they just get to the Super Bowl and I get that part right, I'm happy.
Oh, that would be great. That would be a story I can get into. I'm real big on sports and stories. That would definitely be one I can get with. What you say, Kevin?
I got the Chiefs winning the AFC again. Just, you can't say enough about Mahomes and Andy Reid. I think they're still hungry. I don't think they're going to fall off. And I got the Niners winning the NFC. I think Mike Shanahan is probably, to me, he's the best X's and O's coach in the NFL. 49ers are the most physical team in the NFL. Teams that played the 49ers last year at the game after, they were 0-15. So that tells you a lot about how the 49ers can just beat you up. And I got the 49ers winning it all.
Nice. Havoc.
Well, similar to Kevin, I'm picking the 49ers in the NFC as well. I just think, like Kevin said, they're very physical and very talented top to bottom. There's so many great pieces there. Brock Purdy, Deebo Samuel, George Kittle, Christian McCaffrey. Then they're good. They have a strong offensive line too. And then for the AFC, I'm going to go with the Chiefs again. Not to be redundant, but I mean, you got the GOAT so far of his era, Patrick Mahomes, the Michael Jordan of basically he's Jordan. Whoever he plays against, besides Burrow, he beats. I mean, he's been in the league. This will be his 5th or 6th season. He's got 2 rings.
Played in 3.
Yeah, played in 3.
And played in 3 exactly. And
right.
So yeah, I'm gonna pick the Chiefs to win the Super Bowl again. Mahomes will get his 3rd ring, and Kyle Shanahan will have to explain why he keeps losing Super Bowls.
I hate to even mention this, but since you touched on it, Havoc, if it wasn't for Tom Brady, Patrick Mahomes would have 2 more Super Bowls already. I think, truthfully, Patrick Mahomes would have beat that LA Rams team that Tom Brady beat as well. So he could have 4 Super Bowls.
Wow.
I mentioned that the Giants would win the division. I think that's shocking, but I think it gives the needed push to the Eagles for being a little complacent this year, for having the best team on paper. The Eagles do get through the playoffs as your NFC champion to set up a rematch in the Super Bowl. And I think the Philadelphia Eagles get over the hump and win one. I really do think that. Kansas City goes down this year in a rematch. Jalen Hurts is your MVP.
Coach.
All right. Well, I got in the NFC, 49ers. I think they're just going to be a little bit too much this year if they stay healthy. I mean, the Eagles are going to come through with a good challenge for them. But I think this game will be decided on the West Coast in the playoffs because I feel that the 49ers are finished above them and they have the home field advantage in that ball game. And then I'm going to go in the AFC, and I'm going with the Pittsburgh Steelers. And they're going to come win it as a wild card team. And I think they'll beat the 49ers 24-20. I'm putting a score to it.
Wow.
Coach, I thought you said you were smoking Boston Butts, not crack.
Hey, dude, trust me. You see what happened to them Tigers? That's what I'm talking about. You never can tell.
I'm still a little tender. Still alive. Okay, my pitch, guys, is going to be I'm going to go with the 49ers as well. If I'm honest, I like to take the Eagles, but it's just hard to repeat. So I'm doing that. I'm not saying the 49ers is the best team, but you're asking a bunch of men to let Philadelphia come through and do it again. That's going to be hard. Now, it's possible because the NFC is so bad. And then I'm going to go with the New York Jets. This is the fight of Aaron Rodgers' life for his legacy. They put him on Hard Knocks. The NFL has set it all up. It's all set. And like you guys say, they got a great defense. And we know all Super Bowl teams, for the most part, you got to be solid. I mean, you have a high-flying offense, then that negates what I'm saying. But most of the time, we know you're going to have a stellar defense. Me personally, I would love to see the Kansas City back in, and I would love to see Jalen get another shot at it. I just don't think it'll happen. So I'm going Jets, 49ers. Aaron Rodgers finally gets number 2. I think that's what's going to happen. And with that, I'm going to pass it back to our host, Mr. Steve Dalton.
Hey, what a great show. NFL preview. Touch base with us tomorrow night for This Week in College Football show, our weekly rundown of all college football news. And what a great week 1 to go over. And, we might have a poem for you as we had last week, a very short to the point poem, but with a lot of heat behind it. And our daily special, our Alabama rant with a big week. It's Alabama, Texas from Bryant-Denny Stadium. He'll be there live. We will have the 2-turn Tony Alabama rant that we look forward to. But
might even have a
one
poem
more
myself.
thing.
It
One
starts
more
with
thing.
eeny, meeny, miny, mo.
Uh-oh.
This Seminoles catching a tiger by the toe.
Well, I wasn't going to say all that now.
We'll save
Barry,
the poem.
that wasn't me, Barry.
It's okay. It's
Hey.
okay. It's
We'll
okay.
save
Week
the
2.
poem.
Week 2 is among us.
Go Tigers.
That's right. We'll save the poems for a real, for the real poet, Mr. Dylan Brooks. But you will notice one thing on tomorrow night's show, and that is that we will not be in the color of purple because we saw what happened on Sunday night, and a lot of us predicted that and got it right. So
Ain't no
tomorrow
tattoo
night,
for me.
some of us have a lot of explaining to do, and we will touch on the whole situation that is Colorado Buffalo football and Deion Sanders. But as of tonight, that was the NFL preview show led by Beast Kane. Did a great job. Great questions on tonight's show. We are presented and brought to you by DJ's Clam Shack in St. Augustine, Florida, with locations in Key West and Indian Shores. This is the Chop and Block podcast, and this was your NFL preview.
Yeah, we about to do it. Watch us get into it. We some number